Hi friends, hello, happy Friday. Holy smokes, it's Friday. I am so excited to be here with you all today. I've got a really fun card project to share with you today. I see people popping in. And yeah, okay, so Cherie is here. Greetings from South Florida. Hi, Cherie. Hi, Dawn. Good morning. I made it. I'm getting my coffee. 9 a.m. in Folsom. Oh boy. Yeah. West Coast, right? So, hello, hello. I have a really fun card project I'm going to share with you all today. Last week we did a little pre-holiday kind of card, sorta, with Joy in the Ordinary, my latest release with Gina K. Today I am going to mash up two other stamp sets in my line, Bloom and Grow and Forever, because I was incredibly inspired from last weekend. I went to the pumpkin patch, the local farm. Hi, Anat from Israel. Hello, hello. So me and my family, we went to the local pumpkin patch to pick some pumpkins, and there were also some beautiful sunflowers, and it was just so fall and so beautiful. Hi, Sue. Hi, Denise. We have all kinds of people popping in, so I'm just chit-chatting. So today's tutorial is a mashup of two stamp sets for some fall card making fun. I am going to talk a little bit about fall color palette, and today we're going to do a little watercolor technique. I'm calling this technique kind of a messy watercolor project, and you'll see why. So the project is the card is going to do the technique. We're going to do glazing and layering with multiple mediums. So, and I'm going to dive all into that. So, all right. So I am going to get started. Let's just get started, right? Because we want to get this done within the hour. And I've got a little big watercolor lesson to share with you. So let's go ahead down to the down camera. You can ask questions along the way. I can see everybody in the chat, and people will pop in and out. I know it's a crazy time. Oh, Connie, thank you. Hello from Connie says hi from St. Louis. Your hair is cute. My hair is in a clip. So, Friday kind of just put it all up on the head so I could get going. Okay. All right, Denise is here. Oh, very exciting to see everybody pop in. I'm so grateful. I know that this is a tough time for everyone, and you could be doing so many different things, and it's just exciting to me that you are popping in with me. So, okay, let's go to the down camera. I'm going to do a quick walkthrough of the supplies, but know that all of the supplies are listed down below in the description. We're going to be playing with some distress watercolor pencils today too. So let's do it. Let's just dive in. Okay, so here is the inspiration. Actually, here is the card I'm hoping we're going to make today. Hi, Mary. Hi, Marianne from Pennsylvania, Southeast Pennsylvania. So this is the fall card inspiration. So we're going to be doing some messy watercoloring for texture. We're going to be doing some pattern stamping, and yeah, we're just going to have some fun. So let's dive in. I am going to, whoops, I got a little bloopy here. Let's dive in, do a real quick look at the supplies. So here are the two stamp sets that I'm working with and the coordinating dies. Okay, so I've got Bloom and Grow, and this is Forever. Now, these are two stamp sets in my Gina K Designs lines. I also have card idea sheets for these two stamp sets. Look, I can't even get them both in the screen here. So here's Forever, here's Bloom and Grow, and then I also have a card idea sheet for both of them together, because these two sets I intentionally designed these two sets to kind of mash up a little bit. So, and here's one of the card ideas that we're going to try to make today. Okay. So these card idea sheets, the link is down below in the description. It's indigojadeart.com/craftyourjoy, and you can grab all of my card idea sheets. But I wanted to make sure you knew that these two stamp sets have 3 card idea sheets for them. You might already have these stamps in your stash. You may already have them. If not, and you're really, really into fall stamping or some fall colors, you know, fall color stamping, these are great sets for that. These are just really great sets for that. And they're also really great sets for all year round. And I'm going to show you some samples of cards with them a little bit later on. Okay, so here we go. Let's dive into the supplies. I'm using Kraft cardstock as my base. And I have the Gina K Designs Kraft cardstock. I have this shortcut cardstock in Kraft. Loving it. It's already pre-cut for me. So the A2 size card. I'm using my Ready Steady Ready Cut watercolor, 100% cotton cold press from Strathmore. I've got 2 sheets here for my stamping and yeah, for my stamping, and I don't know, 2 sheets for whatever else I'm going to plan to do or mess up along the way. Okay, my inks. I've got some Gina K inks. I also have some distress inks that I'm going to be working with. So I have Prickly Pear, Wild Dandelion, and Fresh Asparagus. I'm going to be working with those 3. I've got Obsidian for Amalgam. I didn't even have to turn it. I know it's Obsidian. And I'm using Chocolate Truffle. I'm going to be using Chocolate Truffle on the Kraft cardstock because I want that brown on brown, sort of a tone on tone with a pop. So Cherie just said, I love my Bloom and Grow set. I do too. I love it too. I love it, love it, love it. Okay. I'm also going to be, this is Prickly Pear, actually, a little Prickly Pear. I'm going to be using these 2 distress inks, Smiced. I just said Spiced Marmalade. Spiced Marmalade and Wild Honey. Love. And I've got some of the Tim Holtz. These are new. I shared these in a couple lives ago. These are the Distress watercolor pencils. There's 3 sets. I have all 3. I shared before that I was super intrigued. There's lots of reviews on these sets. I'm going to use them today because today we're talking about watercoloring with multiple mediums and how to layer them. So Donetta said, I'm glad you're using these 2 sets. Yay! Me too. Me too, me too, me too. I love going back and doing mashups. Everybody knows that I really like to mash up my sets. Rusty Hinge, Spice Marmalade, Mustard Seed, and Black Soot for my watercolor pencils. I've got a brush, and I have some water here somewhere. I've got some glue and all the things, and I've got a mini mister here because we're going to do a little misting. So we're going to get started. I've got my piece of 100% cotton paper. Dawn just said, oh, I just got my 3 distress pencils yesterday. Woohoo! Yes. They're fun. I'm not going to lie. I'm digging them. And Dawn, you're in the Watercolor Wonderland. You're a Watercolor Wonderlander. So is Cherie. You're in that class, and you're going to see me talk about them in that class as well as a wild card watercolor product. So super fun, little fun tip. All right, we're going to get started with all of the stamping of my elements. So I've got my, let's see, what do we got here? We got some blocks. I've got my big honkin' sunflower stamp, and I also have my little one. I want to stamp this once and stamp this twice. We're going to use Obsidian. Let's try to make, let's try not to make a huge mess today. We'll see what happens, right? So I am not doing this with the Misty friends. I'm just inking it up, getting it nice and juicy. Trying not to shake the table, but you know, no guarantees. And then I'm just going to go ahead and give this some good, nice, even pressure. And I got a good impression. So excited. I've got my tidy towel here. Let's just go ahead and try to be tidy along the way. And now I'm going to take my little sunflowers and just go ahead and stamp them twice. We're going to have 3 blooms in this project. 3 blooms. So I've got them stamped out. And now I'm going to stamp out some of the elements. Now, I am crossing over my elements. In the two stamp sets, I have the two, oh, look at that, right out of the gate. I have the two sunflowers that are in the Bloom and Grow. And over here, I've got the wire element here. I've got all of the leaves and the leafery. So we're using these two leafery pieces, the two oak leaves, the two, I think they're maples or maple-like leaves. Someone will know. Hi, Cheryl. You're not late to the party. No worries. Okay. So I'm going to use all of those. So that's how I'm crossing over my fall elements. So we're going to get started with the, let me get all the leaves out. I've got all of my leaves stamps, and then I have my leafery. Let's just go ahead and get started with the leafery because it's a lot easier. I'm using fresh asparagus. Yes, Dawn says, I love the wire sphere. It's like a chicken wire backgrounder. I'm obsessed with it. I love it. I think it's just taken a little while to catch on, but I love it. Okay, so I'm just inking up with some fresh asparagus, and I'm just going to stamp my elements over here. I'm going to run them through the die cutter. Hi, Irma. Hi. She's saying, hi, crafty friends. Hello, hello. I'm just using fresh asparagus straight up on my 100% cotton paper. Digging it. Loving it. And what I want is a variety of sizes here. Let's see, does this fit this block? Yeah, it does if I turn it this way. Okay. And in my stamp sets, I tend to provide you, yeah, that'll give me enough room. I tend to provide you with leafery or leaf elements that are going in both directions, so that you have that ability to kind of nest and layer things together. I'm always thinking about different ways that you might want to stamp out your images. Okay, I'm going to flip this around. We're going to do some coloring here in a moment, but I'm just getting all my elements stamped out first. Let's go ahead in with my with the oak leaves, and I'm going to use prickly pear and wild dandelion. And you know what? I want to just double back real quick just to kind of show you the fall color palette and what I'm using. So I should have done this first, but you know what? I just got really excited to get into it. Look at that. Right out of the gate. I'm all getting inky. Okay, so I'm using wild honey and spice marmalade. Loving these two colors for fall. Paired up with Gina K's fresh asparagus, wild dandelion, and prickly pear. Look at these three colors. I also want to point out fresh asparagus, and I'm going to bring it really close to the camera. Look at it. It's got a little bit of yellow in it. It's got a little bit of that like wild dandelion yellow in it, and I'm just loving the way that looks. Okay, the Distress watercolor pencils, spice marmalade, mustard seed, rusty hinge, and black soot. So I'm going to hold this right here for a moment, and if you want to do like a screenshot of this, you can have this as a color palette example. I will also post this in the Gina K group. I'll also post this in my community, Craft Your Joy. I'll post this in all the places. But if you want to take a quick screenshot, I'll pause. There you go. And you could have it for your, just as an idea. So I do that all the time. I have so many different things sitting on my phone that are my ideas. So, okay. So now we're going to get back to the stamping. And I'm going to stamp with prickly pear. I'm going to stamp this first oak. This is an oak leaf in the prickly pear. Now, the prickly pear looks kind of dark on the watercolor paper. And Done. I'm going to take a little bit. Ooh, let me clean out my brush. It looks kind of dark. I'm going to take my glasses off too because I can't see. I shared this last week. You see where there's some of the watercolor, where the ink is, I've got some of the white of the paper. Well, if I just want to blend that out, all I have to do is touch it with a little tiny bit of water to just kind of blend it out. But I'm going to leave quite a bit of that because I'm really loving that texture. That's prickly pear. Digging it. The Gina K inks are water, they react with water. So you can do a little blending if you want to. All right, let's grab the other oak leaf and get that stamped out in some of the wild dandelion. Wild dandelion is like my favorite yellow ever. I'm just going to stamp that out. I'm leaving it be. Now, these two colors together, oh, beautiful fall palette. Beautiful fall palette. I'm going to bring that back in. See? Wild dandelion and prickly pear. This is like an Indian yellow or a gamboge when I'm talking about watercolor paints. And then this, I don't even have a word for it. It's just gorgeous. Okay, prickly pear. I digress. Okay, I'm getting a little nerdy today about color. I hope that you find some value in it because I'm kind of excited about the cool temperatures and the fall colors. And when I look out my window, my studio is full of windows. When I look out, I see all of these colors that I'm using right outside, and it's just so inspiring. Okay, here is this isn't a maple leaf. I can't remember what kind of leaf it is, but I have these in my yard, so I cannot bring the word quite yet. So I am going to be using wild honey and spiced marmalade. And hi, Robbie. Robbie's here. Good morning, crafty friends, she said. I am going to let's do this in spiced marmalade. Yeah, we're going to do the big one in spiced marmalade. I love this color. It's a really fun orangey color. Now, because the distress inks are made to be water reactive, I've got a little Misty Bot on. I'm just gonna hit it with a little water from a distance just to kind of activate it, get it nice and juicy. You could have just straight up stamped it, but we're working with that 100% cotton watercolor paper. It's thirsty. It wants something to drink. So I'm just going to add that in. And you could do a lot more with it. You could get it even more wet. Like if I hit it again, it could get a little more. Yeah, I'm digging it. Love it. Okay, so I've got that color. Now I'm going to do the other leaf in my other color, wild honey. Oh, these two colors, look, I'm bringing it back in. Oak leaf. I know, Robbie, I think it might be an oak leaf, but a different kind of oak leaf. I should have looked that up. I should have been more prepared for you, friends. I should have been more prepared. But, they're leaves and they're beautiful and we're stamping. Here are those two colors, spiced marmalade and wild honey. Oh, they're just delicious. Delicious. Okay, let's ink this up. I'm just inking this up. I'm going to get this just a quick hit and I'm going to stamp it right down here and just kind of let it ride. So I've got that nice contrast between this leaf, these two leaves with prickly pear and wild dandelion. If you have, this is what I love. If you have inks from multiple companies or Distress Inks or Gina K inks, don't hesitate to mash them up. I kind of have a theme, right, with the things I share. I mash up a lot of different things together to create different techniques. But I'm loving, and I love the way these colors work together. So that's just super fun. All right. Now, I am going to set this aside for a moment because we're going to move on to the watercolor lessons, so to speak. Then we're going to come back and watercolor these babies. So let's just go ahead and move these up here, and we're going to die cut all these pieces out. Now, I'm going to talk about using the Distress inks and the Distress watercolor pencils together to glaze them or layer them. Now, when you're layering colors together like this, even these two mediums, they were meant to work together. Like the whole Distress line was meant to work together. But I'm digging it because it jacks up the glow. No pun intended, like pumpkins and jack-o'-lanterns. No pun intended. But, you know, kind of fits, right? So super fun. Jacks up the glow. And it gives it like what I call a messy watercolor technique with a lot of texture. So let's go in and let's do it. Okay. So we're working with these water soluble mediums. I'm going to come in, I'm going to do wild honey. Okay. Because I'm going to do some contrast. I'm going to just take a little bit of wild honey and mash it down onto your craft mat or this is a glass mat. And I'm just going to take my brush. My paper is dry. My brush is wet. And I'm going to use the wild honey as a watercolor medium. It's water soluble. This ink was meant to do this. It's meant to be used like this. And because I'm obsessed with this color, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about how we can blend these together to kind of jack up the glow. Okay, so that's the Distress ink. And then here is the Spice Marmalade watercolor pencil. I'm going to do this over here on this side. I showed this a couple days ago. I'm holding it out to the edge. These pencils, I talked about this in, I think it was 2 lives ago. I'm so intrigued by them. Because they're really heavy duty pigment. But I'm intrigued by the weight of them. I just love how they feel in my hand. Now, if you don't have the Distress pencils, you can do this technique that we're doing today with any of your watercolor pencils, any of them, and any of your inks. I just wanted to play with these because I'm completely intrigued by these colors. And I'm obsessed with these fall colors, and I'm loving them. Okay. That Distress pencil really just blended out really, really nicely. And I'm going to come in. When we're doing glazing or layering, you want to make sure your layers are dry in between. So these are not dry. These are a little bit wet. I'm going to zap them real quick just to dry them. So you're going to hear the zapper. You're going to hear the heat tool real quick, but it'll be quick. And we're almost done. Okay, so with this technique, layering or glazing, this technique can be used with any kind of watercolor, any kind of water-soluble medium, your pens, your pencils, your inks, your watercolor pan sets, your tubes, same technique. This is dry. Now, oh, gosh, I just love those colors. You could just leave this alone, or we're going to go in. I'm kind of cleaning up along the way today because I've already made such like a huge mess today. So I've got wild honey here, spice marmalade here. I'm going to take a little bit of this rusty hinge and just kind of layer it over top randomly. I'm going to take a little bit of this mustard seed. Let's put a little bit down here and just kind of blend it into that rusty hinge. And let's take a little bit of that spiced marmalade. And I'm just layering these two mediums on top of each other. And I'm calling this like messy, I call this, well, it's glazing and layering, but it's a little bit of a messy watercolor technique because I'm not going to smoothie blend this out. You see how this was a smoothie blend? A nice graduated watercolor. I'm not going to smoothie blend this out. I'm going to let some of this pigment sit on top of the paper. This 100% cotton paper wants to just gobble all this up. It wants to gobble the pigment up. It wants to gobble the water up. I can reactivate that a little bit. The other thing about the Distress is that you can reactivate it. Look, I can reactivate it just by adding some water. But I'm going to intentionally leave, not smoothie blend, leave some of that pigment sitting on top of that paper. And what it does is it gives us extra texture and dimension, but we still have our transparency with our layering and our glazing. It's jacking up the glow. It makes, when it dries, it just gets super, super, the transparent colors come through, the texture's there, and it's just my easy going watercolor technique for stamped images, because I get texture, I get transparency, I get a lot of glow in my project, and it's just super fun. All right, now over here with the water soluble, with the Distress, I'm going to take a little bit of the wild honey and just go over it. So I'm doing the reverse. This was the Distress pencil first. Look at you. You want to roll on over, don't you? Hi, Irma. She says, so cool. Yeah, just super fun. Now I'm going over this a little bit with the color. So we have wild honey. And watch, I'm going over the spice marmalade. Now, some of the spice marmalade wants to lift. You'll be able to reactivate it. You can reactivate this with water and get it to move a little bit. See how I got it to move? But if you're layering on top, you can still see the sparse. Oh, I get so excited. The words just aren't coming today, friends. Okay, you can see the spice marmalade coming through the honey color, and it's jacking up that glow. Oh, it's so glowy. Okay, I'm taking it another step further. I'm going to take a little bit of Gina K Wild Dandelion, my super fave, right? And then just use that as my watercolor medium. And then I'm going to layer that one right over top of some of what I've done here. And it's already, because Wild Dandelion is so beautiful, it's already jacking up that glow. It's jacking up the glow. I'm going to take a little bit of Wild Dandelion over here and just kind of dropping it in. Now I'm adding water to areas that are already wet, so it's kind of, it wants to bloom. It's going to push that color back a little bit, but that's okay. Kind of digging it. That's super fun. So when it all dries, you get some of this kind of texture. You get all this texture and dimension. You get this glowy kind of, you can see the layers coming through. This was wild honey, rusty hinge, a little mixture of all of them. You can keep layering and playing with these and just adding a little bit of water to create different kinds of texture and dimension, but different kinds of glow in the color. Now we're going to let this dry. We're going to come in and we're going to start painting the sunflowers. Did anybody have any questions about that technique? Did you find it fun? I can't wait to see you all try it. Give it a go. It's just another way. Like, I'm always looking for ways for you to experiment with the products you own, your Distress, your Gina K inks, all the different things that you own to create washi or unusual watercolor techniques. So, all right, we are going to paint these 3 in wild honey. Cherie said, fun, 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 fun. Yeah, super fun. I hope you guys get a lot of value out of it. Now, I'm going to do something a little different. Where over in the little lesson we did, the brush was wet, the paper was dry. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, Robbie said, I'm loving your new tricks for me to try. Yes! I just believe that if you invest in art supplies and products and things you want to play with, you should try to like find out all the fun ways that you can use them. Now, I am going to talk about, we're just going to drop a little bit of water, and I'm doing this is my technique I call brush dancing. I'm just dropping the brush around. You can see that I'm not painting every single one of these petals. I have done it, and it's fun if you want that smoothie like watercolor effect. But that's not what we're doing here today. So I've dropped some water down. So we're doing wet into wet. My brush is wet, my paper's wet. I've dropped some water down, painted some water down. And now I'm just going to brush dance. You can see I'm dancing the brush around and kind of dropping some of that wild honey where the water is. I'm going to leave that be. Come over and do the same thing over here. Brush dance. Just dance a little bit of water around. Let's just dance a little bit of water around. And I'm not concerned about going outside of the lines and all those things, because we're going to die cut these flowers, these little sunflowers. So we're starting in here, dancing the wild honey and kind of letting it be. I'm going to add a little bit more, just to add like right around the center. I'm just layering some more of that color right there. Just for funsies. Come in and do this. Now this is messy. Like, I would say controlled mess, right? But I'm dancing the brush around. Oh, I'm digging it. Loving it. All right, I'm going to zap this real quick. Then we're going to add another layer. We're going to add the next layer. Let's just go ahead and zap it real quick with the heat tool. I kind of put the heat tool a little further away from the camera and the microphone today because it's loud and obnoxious. And I usually don't use it on the lives, but we had to today. I want to show you how, come on, this last little bit needs to dry. Okay. When I bring this back in, you can see I've got a couple little wet spots here. You can see that I've intentionally, that in that brush dancing technique, I've intentionally left some white from the paper. So it's not a smoothie blend. And right out of the gate, we've got texture, because I've got a little bit of the white coming through and I have some variegation of this color. And yes, it's just like already glowing. Now, when you're working with the distress inks and they look super, super vibrant at first, any kind of ink looks super, super vibrant. But once it dries back, it's very much like watercolor. It'll dry back a bit. It'll shift. It's called shifting. It'll shift a bit and it'll become a little less vibrant. But that's okay, because we're going in, we're doing some glazing, and we're going to add a little more vibrancy back into it with the distress pencils. Okay. Now you could use your watercolor pencils. Remember, you don't have to have the distress pencils. You don't even have to have the distress inks. Try this with your inks that you have in your stash. Robbie just said, so pretty and so easy. I've never tried this. You've always tried to be perfect in the lines. It's very funny you say that, Robbie, because I don't. There are so many amazing stampers that take their florals and they do the most beautiful, like no line watercoloring and watercolor like each petal. I don't. I just think it's a lot more fun to do these texture-y like techniques, because I want the stamp to be the star of the show. I want you to feel like when you're looking at a card, you can see lots of dimensions. I do like doing that kind of painting, but I think it's, it's a little time consuming, and I really like to just get to the creating. So it's super fun. Okay. I'm going to take a little bit of the rusty hinge. And I'm going to go into some areas where I'm just gonna like literally just start plopping in some of this rusty hinge color. And look, I'm not dancing. I'm just randomly plopping some in. Okay. Dawn says you make it look so easy. I'm actually just having a play, right? And look, I'm just randomly popping these in. And this, I feel like, is very freeing. I'm not worrying about the petals. I'm just dropping some of that color in. I'm going to take a little bit of this orange, the spiced marmalade, drop a little bit of that in. These little guys just want to run. We're going to drop some of that in here. And all I'm doing is just layering. I'm holding the pencil on the side and just kind of smashing it in there and layering it in. That's weird. I just saw somebody walk by the side of my house. That's not, yeah, interesting. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to take, I just waved. The person that was walking by the side of my house is my daughter. So my daughter and her friend. So there you go. All right, so I've got all of these mediums. Look at it, it's just kind of all chunked out and layered. And you know what? You could literally leave this the way it is and die cut this out. And you would have like, a really funky texture. But we're just going to take a little bit of water. Little bit. I'm not going to smoothie blend this out. I am just going to touch it with the brush. And again, go back over it and brush dance over it. Look, I'm just like dancing around the brush and just letting that, activating the pencil and just dancing around it, activating the pencil. The brush doesn't have to be super, super wet. It's just got to be a little bit wet. And then I'm resisting the urge. Now here's my advice. Resist the urge to want to pull these colors out and into a smoothie-like blend. Resist the urge, friends. Resist it, okay? Because it's absolutely beautiful just the way it is. And it creates all of this level of texture and dimension that you couldn't get by painting each petal individually. All right, now I'm going to run all of this through the die cutter. And I kind of did that off camera a little bit earlier. I'm going to bring all of my pieces in because I want to keep this moving. Bringing all my pieces in. I used the two companion, ooh, can't get my finger underneath there. The companion dies for the set. So I've got all the die pieces for the set. I want to share something, and I've shared this before with my stamp sets. My stamp sets come with, like when I have the line art version of a stamp, and then I have the solid, I usually only make one die, okay, for them. And the reason is this die will fit both. This die will, if for the line art image, it will be super close to the image when it's cut. And for the silhouette version, it'll be a little bit further away. So you get a little bit more of a lip around it. So you kind of get a twofer for one die. So, and it also enables me to get more dies up on the sheet. So just a little tip. All right, I've got all my pieces here. Now look at the texture. Resisting the urge to smoothie blend things out. Now it's all dry. Now my leafery is good. All of my little leafery bits, we're not using that one, are good. Now I'm going to come in because I want to do one little finishing technique. I'm going to take a little bit of wild dandelion here. And I'm going to jack up the glow even more. Whenever you add yellow to something, as a finishing technique at the end, it jacks up the glow in your watercolor project. So I just added a little bit of yellow there. I'm adding a little bit of yellow here. And wild dandelion is a beautiful color for that. Adding a little bit of yellow, just I'm brush dancing it around. We're going to let that dry. Oh, digging it. All right, let's clean this up. Now, while these pieces are drying, I've got my leafery here. I'm going to bring in my cardstock base. And let's get going. We're going to get going. We're going to do some pattern. We're going to make a pattern here. All right, I've got my, let's move these little guys over here so I don't booger them up. I've got chocolate truffle and I have the wire stamp, and I'm going to use this stamp instead of using it by itself and nesting things around it like a wreath. I'm going to use this stamp to create a pattern on the front of my card. And I've got a couple samples. I know I showed a sample. I showed our sample of this, but let's see. I've got another sample of this set. I'm going to show this right here where I did that technique, and I did it with some copper emboss powder. And it just creates a little bit of whimsy in the pattern. But today we're going to do chocolate truffle. Now this stamp, this chocolate truffle is super juicy. So I'm just gently tapping it, because if I mash into it, oh, I know what's going to happen. It's going to be like super juice. So I'm going to clean that up along the way. I'm starting with this corner to create my pattern. I'm going to come down in this kind of way for my pattern here. So I've got my base. You know what? Let's just make sure I got some ink over there. I'm not going to overlap. Now you could overlap and it would be just fine. But I want to use this arc I've got here to help me with my layering. So I've got this right here. I'm going to end up nesting in between these two. Nesting my elements for the card. Okay, now I'm going to come down. Let's see, it's a little wonky, but you know what? Pretty much everything I do is wonky. So I did a little bit of layering right there. I'm going to clean up that stamp and set it aside. Clean this off. That chocolate truffle is gorgeous on the Kraft. Absolutely gorgeous on the Kraft paper. Let's go ahead and move that out. And now we're ready to kind of build the card. And then we'll do the sentiment last. Okay. So I've got all my elements here, and I've got this arc that I kind of created here. So I want to make sure that I'm kind of using that to my advantage. So I'm going to position, I'm going to get a little piece of foam tape. I'm only sticking the foam tape in that dead center because I'm going to be nesting things around it underneath. I'm going to use this, just kind of position this around, see how I like it. I'm going to start right here, and I'm going to use my angle to just kind of come around this way. Okay. All right, now I'm going to come in. I've got my glue. I'm going to nest my two other sunflowers just kind of right there. Ah, I'm loving it. Now, you see the yellow in the wild dandelion? It's starting, this is glowing a lot more than it did. And it's awesome. Love it. I'm going to nest this under here. Not too much. Just a smidge. Just kind of let it touch that. Just trying to create that angle there. We'll see. Let's see what happens. I need to leave room down here for my sentiment. So I've got to be wary of that. I have a habit of building my cards and forgetting, ooh, maybe I should put a sentiment on there. Okay, so I've got that. So here, this is going to be the eventual sentiment, and I want it to kind of be here. So I'm gonna move this over just a smidge because I do want it to nest up underneath there a bit. All right, so I've got that angle going. And now it's just a matter of like bringing in your bits, bringing in the leafery bits, bringing in the leaferys, and just kind of having some fun with it. So what I meant about these two stamps, or the stamps in my line, see how they go in opposite directions? So you could use them together. You could nest them like this. This stamp right here, friends, would make an excellent mistletoe, mistletoe, I guess, cluster. So maybe that'll be my next stamp for the holidays. I'll show you how to use some of the leafery in my line to create holiday looks. What do you think of that? Should we do that? What a great idea. Should we do a mashup of all of the leafery in my lines, in my stamp sets, and create a beautiful holiday wreath? Let me know what you think. All right, so I'm nesting this under here, and I'm just kind of nesting it between that sunflower. I didn't put glue at that very top. I'm just leaving that there, just letting that have a little bit of texture. Add a little bit of glue to the back of this. I love this little glue thing. Cherie says yes. I'm thinking, yeah, how about we do that? That would be so fun, because I always have so much leafery in my stamp line because I just love it, and I think it coordinates well with the stamps that we're working with. So it would be fun to kind of do something a little bit different with that leafery. And yeah, Robin's saying good, Dawn's saying yes. It would be fun because if you already own all these stamps, how about we figure out how to make some really fun holiday wreaths together. Where do I want this? I think I'm going to put this over here and kind of nest that right there. Make some fun holiday wreaths together with leafery from some past stamp sets. That would be awesome. And I'm just nesting these. I want that to go underneath there. Just nesting the little leafery bits out and about here. I'm going to put that. I've got these 2 oak leaves. Let's get a little glue on here. And we're going to finish this card off. Where do I want this? I think I want this down here. No. Right now it's sticking to the glass. I think, yeah, I think I do. I think I want it down here. I think I do. Yep, I want it right there, and I just kind of want it to lift up a little bit. Now I'm going to take this last little one, this little yellow one, add a little bit of glue. I'm loving these little glue bottles from Gina K. It really does help me kind of control my glue output, which is kind of, sounds kind of funny, but I think I'm going to nest that right there. Yeah, I'm digging it right there. Okay. I am digging this card. Let's come in and do our sentiment. This is the die from Master Layouts 5. That is the die set that has this really cool window die. Here's another example of Bloom and Grow. Love it. Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm going to put, I don't know, should we do Thankful? Yeah, let's do Thankful. I'm going to do Thankful, and I'm not going to do it. I'm going to bring back Chocolate Truffle and just ink that up very gently. I have a habit of boogering things up at the last minute. Very gently. Let's put Thankful right in there. Oh, look at that. Holy smokes. All right, flipping it over. Flipping it over. You know what? I feel like I need to practice this. Sue's saying you feel like, oh, you know what? You might be right, Sue. I might need to move that because I had every inch. All right, let's just see. All right, first of all, I just want to get my ink right. So I'm just going to stamp it. I was stamping out my Thankful on that piece because I already boogered it up once. Okay, excellent. How many people have gotten all the way to the end of their card and then the very last thing is to do the sentiment and they booger it up? Now, I'm taking that oak leaf out because I want this, I really want this to nest under here, and I kind of just forgot and didn't leave enough room for my sentiment. So let's do that. There we go. And then I'll fix my oak leaf. So you can see I buggered it up on the back. Sue said, maybe you need a cushion to stamp the saying. Oh, you are right. Or use my Misty. I do have a cushion for stamping the sentiments. I've had that for a while, and I really dig that. Oh, I'm loving this. I'm loving the way that's nesting around there. Now, let's just go in and find a spot, a new spot for that piece of that oak. Robbie raised her hand. Yeah, I feel it. I have a habit of like getting all the way to the end, and then you're going to do your sentiment, and then it's like, shampoo, you boogered it up. That would be me. All right, I'm going to nest this right here. Just kind of put that right there. All right, I'm loving this. We've got a lot of layered texture and dimension, but not a ton of height. Got the sentiment in here, but all of the texture that we've got going here looks like it's just coming from the color, right? Okay, now I'm just going in really easy breezy with some enamel accents. I love this. This product's from Ranger. Now I'm just doing a little bit on my hand so it doesn't plop out onto my project, because I have a habit of doing that too. Now I'm coming into the center of the sunflower and I'm just dropping in variegated, like variations of different sizes of these little dots, these little tiny dots. And I'm going to come in and I'm putting most of the dots down on the lower right hand corner of the flower. So they're all kind of pointing in the same direction. So I've added that little tiny bit of extra. Now I want to kind of bring it together. We've got this nice angle going here. This nice little arc. I want to bring it together with these enamel dots. I'm going to start at the top and I'm just going to go boop. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to nest one over here. So I'm just kind of creating that little bit of whimsy to carry your eye through. I'm going to put one right there and one right there, just to kind of carry your eye through and around for that look. Ah, I'm digging it. Oh, this card came out so nice. I am loving it. Ah. Oh, friends, it was just super nice. Loving that card. I hope you guys, hope you're feeling it too. Let's go ahead and we made it within the hour. So here was my original inspiration. They're very similar. Oh, you know what? I took a little bit of that wild honey. Ooh, let's do that. Let's do that. Just a real quick finishing. I took a little bit of that wild honey and I splattered. Now, watch. This could make or break the whole project, right? Or you don't have to do that. I'm just going to splatter just a smidge of that wild honey right there on that sentiment. Let that dry. Let that dry. Let that be fun. Cheryl just popped in. Hello! Okay. All right, fun. Look at these 2 cards. How can you not love the fall, right, friends? How can you not love the fall? Okay, we've got like a couple minutes. I'm going to pop back to the front camera. How can you not love the fall and all the fall colors? Okay, this card was so fun to create. I hope you got a lot of value out of this lesson. I hope you learned a lot about using different water-soluble mediums, your watercolor pencils, your distress inks, and your inks, and how to use them together to glaze and layer those colors to jack up that glow, creating a ton of texture and dimension in your stamp image without having to do like smoothie blends and things. I call it the messy, washy watercolor technique. I hope you got a lot out of it. So I'm so grateful everybody could join me today. And I hope you found the technique super, super fun. If you're watching this on the replay, if you have any questions along the way, or you watch this again on the replay, because it's a great technique to kind of pause, try it out, watch it over and over again until you kind of get it the way you want it. Don't hesitate to reach out with questions. If you are at all interested in finding out when I do tutorials and launch classes and all the wonderful things, I'd love it if you would join my email list. The link is below in the description. I'm not always sure that everybody gets my social media posts or sees them. So if you are on my email list, you get all the information firsthand right in your inbox. I also have, oh, Dawn said, Lisa, your camera is cutting off the top of your eyes. Really? Hopefully that's a little bit better. I can see myself, so I'm not sure what's happening. Maybe you've zoomed in a little bit, Dawn, but I zoomed out a little bit, and hopefully that's better. Okay. So I also have, Dawn just said the new class is awesome. So Dawn is talking about Watercolor Wonderland, which is the newest watercolor course in my classroom at craftyourjoy.com. And I also have a Craft Your Joy community in my online classroom. If you've taken classes with me, the community has been added to your dashboard. It's free for you. If you're with me today and you've never taken a class with me, no worries. I have a free course on my craftyourjoy.com website. You can sign up for the free course and the community will automatically be added to your student dashboard. I am sharing a ton of information in the community weekly, almost daily, because I'm not sure who sees what in social media, and I want to make sure you get a lot of value from a teaching experience with me. So if you want to join my community, there's a lot more freebies and things that are happening there as well. And I do post some of the YouTube videos over there as well. And I am intending on building that community where I'm sharing a lot more there, and it's free to you. So, okay. All right, friends, I hope you have a great weekend. I hope that you got a lot out of this lesson, and I'm sending you into the weekend to craft your joy. I hope you're inspired, and I will be back next week. And hey, all the Hallmark movies are starting tonight, right? All the Hallmark Christmas movies. It's going to be 24/7 Christmas. Let me know if you think I should start sharing some holiday card ideas. Let me know. Let me know what you think. Or do you want to see something different? Because I'm still feeling the fall, right? So let's just see what happens next week. Okay. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Cherie, Irma, all the sweet words that everybody's sharing in the comments. And I'm so grateful that you could all join me. Have a great weekend. I hope you get some time to craft your joy and create something fun this weekend. If you do, share it with me. And I'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.